But it feels like Brandon Beane has been quietly avoiding criticism. The bus is coming, it's running over the entire staff, and Brandon Beane is, in the bar having a cocktail. So the Bills lost to the Denver Broncos on Monday night. News comes out basically immediately the next day that Sean McDermott has fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, and most people see this move for what it is. It's a scapegoat. It is Sean McDermott scanning the building and finding the first person that he can to grab and throw under the bus, because the bus is coming. Unfortunately, throwing Ken Dorsey under the bus is not going to save Sean McDermott from finding himself there. I think it's over in Buffalo. I predicted this preseason that they would miss the playoffs. I just saw too many issues with the team from a coaching standpoint, and it hasn't been resolved. They're worse than I thought they would be. Things have gone bad. They handed that game to Denver. I mean, Denver tried desperately to not win the game, and Buffalo just insisted. They said, no, you take it, please. We're happy being 5-5. The Josh Allen regression is real. It can't be ignored at this point. 11 interceptions. I think it's most in the league. It's the popular thing now to pile on Josh Allen. I was critical of Josh Allen, but now that everyone's piling on Josh Allen, I think we have to take a step back. We saw how productive he was when Brian Daboll was there. We know he can be productive. We know he can be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. He is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. He just makes mistakes. And the one that really sums it up for me in that game was right before the half. Bills get the ball. There's 30 seconds on the clock, maybe a minute, whatever it was. And he throws that interception. Why he's forcing the ball there is so baffling. You can go into the half down a couple points. You're in a good position. And this is where I think it all comes around to Sean McDermott. They fired Ken Dorsey. He's gone, whatever. Maybe deservingly so. That's a topic for another day. Dorsey was up in the booth. There was never anyone coaching Josh Allen. You never saw anyone really go over there and talk to him and try to calm him down. It's a disaster. He's sitting over there all sad and depressed, and he can't get his mind right, and no one's trying to coach him. That's kind of the job. Sean McDermott doesn't do that because he's a defensive guy. And this is the problem with having a defensive head coach when you have a franchise star and a franchise quarterback. Brian Daboll was able to do that. Ken Dorsey was not. Maybe part of it's because he's in the booth. He's not on the sidelines. But it seems like no one's there to pull the reins back on Josh Allen and say, hey, be situationally smart. Like, you don't have to force the ball here. We can just go to the halftime. If a throw's there, take it, but don't force it. Don't give up an interception. The turnovers are killing Josh Allen. It's been a story through his career, but we've seen him manage it when he had someone helping him, such as Brian Daboll. There is no excuse at this point for the Buffalo Bills to have the same record as the Raiders. That's embarrassing. They're not going to make the playoffs. The season is over. It's done. And McDermott's gone. There's no other option. I think it's the right call. The problem will be if they keep Brandon Beane as the GM. I don't imagine they will. I think when you clean house, you got to clean house. Let's hope they do that. The Bills had like the fourth oldest roster coming into this season. And what have we seen? We've seen a lot of injuries. We've seen a lot of guys trying to sign up for AARP. They have gone a completely different route. They've tried to go old guys, free agents, and it's a disaster. There has been a lot of blame on Josh Allen, a lot of blame on Sean McDermott, deservingly so, but it feels like Brandon Beane has been quietly avoiding criticism. The bus is coming. It's running over the entire staff, and Brandon Beane is, in the bar having a cocktail. He has to face repercussions for his decisions on building this roster. You look at the offense, and this isn't to take blame away from Allen. What does he really have? He doesn't have anything. I mean, he's got Stephon Diggs. That's great. But, Diggs can be a little problematic as a personality, and I think things are going to get louder with that situation. But otherwise, it's nothing. You have Gabe Davis, who, decides to be decent once every 5 or 6 games. Dawson Knox, who got hurt. Dalton Kincaid, the rookie you drafted. Maybe he'll be something. That's not acceptable. The offensive line, they can't get it right. It's been 3-4 years. They can't seem to put it together. The defense is where you have the most talent on the roster collectively. But when they're all old guys and they're getting hurt, you made that giant move for Von Miller. That contract didn't really pan out, did it? I think Brandon Beane should be facing as much, if not more, scrutiny than McDermott is. And unless Buffalo does a complete overhaul this offseason and truly cleans house, I don't see a way out of it. There is time to save this. Josh Allen is a good quarterback. There are many, many teams in the league who would take him immediately. Maybe with the way things are going in New York, you can go get Brian Daboll and bring him back in as the head coach. But you need to give Josh Allen an offensive head coach, someone who can level with him, someone who is there to tell him when to pull back, tell him when to push the ball, someone he can trust in, and someone that's not going to be leaving year after year as coordinators go in and out. Because if you have success, your coordinators are gone. That's the only move. And on the other hand, you've got to get a new GM. You got to bring in a GM and a coach that are tied to the hip that agree to build a young, talented roster and give Josh Allen some weapons. Because he puts the cape on, he tries to play Superman. A lot of that's on him, but a lot of it, I think, is on the roster and on Brandon Beane, because it's not like he has a ton of talent all over the field. This is a depleted roster, and it has been for a couple of years, and I think Josh Allen has covered up the deficiencies, but that can only go so far, and you're you're seeing the cracks in the foundation. It's over for Buffalo, and the only option moving forward is to clean house, clean slate. Hey, we got Josh Allen. I wouldn't even say Diggs is in the future plans. Everything's on the table. We have to start fresh, because if we want to capitalize on this talented franchise quarterback, then we have to bring someone in who can make him productive, stop the turnovers, and we have to build a roster that has some talent under the age of 34. That's the only way Buffalo can get back to competing for AFC championships.